Game one of the NBA Finals took place last night as the Phoenix Suns take game one. We'll talk about that and more of the fallout that is taking place at ESPN. All of that is coming right after the bumper. What's happening, everybody? Jeff Lightsy Jr. here with the Black Boss Channel and Victory Formation. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, first on hand, we have to talk about the NBA Finals. Before we get started, put your B1s in the chat and let me know where you are coming from. B1s in the chat and let me know what city that you are coming from. So, the NBA Finals took place last night. Game one, the Bucks versus the Phoenix Suns. And Phoenix did what a lot of people felt like they were supposed to do. They came away with a double-digit win, 118 to 105, and led by another outstanding, miraculous performance from CP3, the 36-year-old wonder superstar, is just having a historic playoff run, doing things at an age that you're not supposed to be doing things at a size that you're not supposed to be doing, dominating the NBA court at the highest level, something he has not gotten an opportunity to do in his 16-year career, and I love to see it. I love to see Chris Paul do Chris Paul things. He finished with 32 points last night, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, and just 16 points in the third quarter. He didn't even score. The thing is, he scored 32 points, and he didn't score 1 point in the first quarter. So he scored 32 points in 3 quarters, just simply dominant, simply just going out there and continuing his domination that he had, in the last series, especially game 6 in particularly, and then to come through and drop 32 after dropping 40 in the last game. Chris Paul is doing things he's not supposed to be doing. Like I said, he's undersized. He's 36 years old. He's never been in the finals. He's never been this far in his playoff career in 16 years, but he is a 10-time All-Star or 11-time All-Star. He is a 10-time All-NBA guy. He is a future first ballot Hall of Famer. He is a top 5 point guard of all time. Chris Paul, CP3, he's in there, and he's continuing to show and prove why he's one of the best to ever do it. Now, moving forward, the Bucks. Now, the Bucks lost game one, but this isn't an end-all, be-all for the Bucks. One, they're on the road, so technically you're supposed to lose game one on the road. 2, they saw a miraculous comeback from Giannis Antetokounmpo. He played 35 minutes. He scored 20 points. He grabbed 17 boards in a game that most people didn't think he was going to play. Now, think about that. To go out there and have a performance like Giannis, crazy to see him go out there and score the points that he has. Shout out to Michael McCubbin. He says, Paul's had a tough career. Stern hurts his legacy. Yeah, hopefully he pulls it out. Yeah, so what McCubbins is talking about is David Stern obviously rejected that trade when Chris Paul was supposed to go to the Lakers. Remember, the NBA rejected a trade between the New Orleans Hornets at the time, they were the Hornets at the time. The New Orleans Hornets traded Chris Paul to the Lakers. The NBA owned New Orleans Hornets at the time. Golly, I'm so confused. The NBA owned the New Orleans Hornets, and they rejected the trade for Chris Paul for Lamar Odom and Andrew Bynum, I think, to the Hornets. And yeah, so then they ended up allowing the trade to happen that sent Chris Paul to the Clippers, and that drastically altered his career. Because if that trade would have went through, I believe Chris Paul has a couple of championships on his hand by now. I definitely believe Chris Paul would not be ringless in year 16. Hey, but it is what it is. God chooses the journey for every individual. Every individual's path to greatness or path to a championship or path to success is different. And so Chris Paul took a little longer. His took a detour. And now he's on the right path. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. No. So, back to the finals. The Bucks. The Bucks saw Giannis come back, and most people didn't think he was going to come back, at least for game one. At least me. If you saw the injury Giannis sustained in the Eastern Conference Finals, there's no way in the world you thought he would come back for game one. And not only come back, but to log 35 minutes and to be as effective as he was. 20 points, 17 rebounds. That's just a Giannis Antetokounmpo thing. 29 points for Chris Middleton. Drew Holiday. And see, that's the thing. This is the thing about the Bucks, and this is why I believe the Suns will win the series. Because you can't. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton are not dependable players. Over on Phoenix, I know what I'm going to get out of Chris Paul. I know what I'm going to get out of Devin Booker. And hell, even now, I know what I'm going to get out of DeAndre Ayton. 22 points, 19 rebounds. He has been a 20 and 12 guy these entire playoffs. So I know what I'm going to get out of those three people. And when you add the fact that Cameron Payne can come in and hit shots, and Cam Johnson can hit shots, and sometimes even Jay Crowder can hit shots. I say sometimes because it's not always. Mikal Bridges can give you a quick 14 or whatever. That's why I feel like Phoenix is the better team. That's why I feel like Phoenix will win this series. The Bucks, on the other hand, have just as much firepower. When you add Giannis with Lopez, with Middleton, with Drew Holiday, the problem is Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton are so inconsistent. These guys are not every day, every game players. These guys will show up for you one day and then have a disappearing act the next. Drew Holiday was getting cooked by Chris Paul off the pick and roll. Drew Holiday then on the other end could only give you 10 points. I need more than 10 points in 40 minutes from Drew Holiday, especially when Chris Paul is cooking you for 32. Now, part of that wasn't always Drew Holiday's because it was a pick and roll. It was a lot on Brook Lopez as well. They were doing what they called a drop coverage. You can't play a drop coverage on Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Why? Because they are mid-range killers. I don't know why the Bucks didn't figure this out from their last series against the Hawks. When they played a drop coverage on Trae Young, he is a mid-range killer. He would kill them. They played drop, Trae Young get a bucket. The only problem was Trae Young got hurt. He messed up his ankle, and I think that changed the trajectory of that last series, or the Bucks might have been in some trouble. So you are playing two players that are super dominant in the mid-range. Your drop coverage and your switch everything is not a smart idea. I'm going to just throw that out there. Your drop coverage and your switch everything off the pick and roll is not smart, because when you have Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis and Giannis Antetokounmpo switching on to Chris Paul and Devin Booker, you're going to lose 9 times out of 10. And you want to know how I know? Because I've seen these guys cook small guys. These guys go to work on guys their size and guys that are supposed to be good defenders, like the Patrick Beverleys of the world, like the Paul Georges of the world, like you know what I mean? Like these guys that are supposed to be really good defenders, they put buckets on them. So you mean to tell me you think your 7-foot or your 6'10" center or power forward can go out and cover CP3 when he's rolling? No. He can't. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. And that's how you end up with Booker with 27 and CP3 with 32. Because you're playing terrible defense and you're allowing them to cook you for 5, 6, 7, 8 possessions in a row. Like, that's the thing about Milwaukee. And that's what's so frustrating about watching the Milwaukee Bucks play. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, guys. Thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. Milwaukee has a talented team. Milwaukee has a team that's capable of winning the NBA championship. They wouldn't be there if they couldn't. But the problem is Milwaukee makes 0 adjustments during games. They hardly make any adjustments during series, let alone during the games. They make 0 adjustments during the game. Chris Paul goes off for 16 points in the third quarter. You're still cut the lead to 7. Somehow still able to cut the lead to 7, and you never change the way you play the defense. And that allows that 7-point lead to balloon back up to 15. And that's what you ultimately end up losing by. That is so crazy. That is so crazy. Now, Housing, shout out to Housing. He says Giannis came back, but he wasn't himself. No, he wasn't, but he still was effective. He wasn't the Giannis, the 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year Giannis completely, but he did have a chase down block. He still grabbed 17 rebounds. He still scored 20 points. Like, he still looked good. Now, even if he's 75% or 70% or even 80, 85%, that's still better than nothing. Because Milwaukee, with their no adjustment making selves and their inconsistent guys and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, who can go out for 29 in one game and 9 the next game, they're going to need Giannis. That's just point blank, period. Because their guys are too inconsistent to not have Giannis out there and think they're going to beat CP3 the way he's playing, Devin Booker the way he's playing, DeAndre Ayton and the way he's playing in those Phoenix Suns. So they're going to need Giannis. They're definitely going to need Giannis. It's a fact. So when they hit home court, you will see them because it Just watch them. I'm gonna get. We'll see. Housing. You think they're gonna turn up when they get back to Milwaukee? I'm not so sure. I've seen them play great at home. I've also seen them lay eggs at home. I've seen them play great on the road. I've also seen them lay eggs on the road. So Milwaukee is just such an interesting team, man. It's so crazy to watch them play and watch them go out there because, like I said, they make no adjustments. That is the most frustrating thing in the world as a basketball fan, to go out there and see a team that is very capable of winning a game or winning a series or doing whatever and make zero adjustments. Like, okay, I realize that the switching everything is not a right move because Chris Paul and Devin Booker are just making everything in the mid-range. I realize that the drop coverage that Brook Lopez or Bobby Portis is playing on CP3 and Devin Booker isn't working. That's why they're scoring 5, 6, 7, 8 possessions in a row, getting a basket. Like, I need to switch it up, Budenholzer. I need to switch it up. And it's just all I have to say. It says David Stern messed over Paul when he denied him going with Kobe in LA. That man would have won multiple. That's what I said earlier. You're right, David. David, I said earlier, I believe CP3 would not be going for ring number 1 in 2021 if Stern would have allowed the Lakers trade to take place. CP3 and Kobe during that time, what's it, like 2011, 2012? That's a year the Mavericks won the championship. Yeah, CP3 and Kobe would have made some noise. CP3 and Kobe would have been better than the Dallas Mavericks. CP3 and Kobe would have got over the hump against the Miami Heat. CP3 and Kobe would have made some things happen. They would have been great. They would have been great together. They would, and free agents would have flocked to play with them because Chris Paul's a pass-first point guard, and Kobe at times, some people feel like, shot too much or was selfish, but that was only when he played with guys who weren't that good. When he played with Lamar Odom and Pau Gasol, they were great. CP3, Pau Gasol, Kobe Bryant would have won a championship. Kobe Bryant, when he played with Shaq, they were great. They were amazing. Kobe knows how to play with stars. Like, he had never had any issues playing with stars. People called him selfish and said he shot too much and did all these things when he played with guys who weren't that good. Let's just be honest. Let's just throw it out there. When he played with stars, they won championships. Or when he played even guys that you wouldn't even consider stars, guys that were like twiddling stars, the Lamar Odoms, the Andrew Bynums, they won championships. Pau Gasol was a star. He'll be a Hall of Famer. Shaq was a star. He'll be a Hall of Famer. They won championships. You add CP3 with Kobe Bryant and their tenacity, and that's another thing. Chris Paul loves to win. Chris Paul is a leader, and Chris Paul is someone who wants to win by any means necessary, even if that means getting a little dirty. Even if that means manipulating the rules a little bit, it doesn't matter. CP3 is a winner, whether he's won a championship or not. Every organization that he's went to, he has immediately made them better. The Phoenix Suns didn't even make the playoffs last year. They add CP3 there in the freaking finals. That's second best record in the NBA, or third best record, second best record in the NBA, second best record in the Western Conference, and now they're in the finals. He goes to OKC, they have a less than 0%, less than zero. It's pretty hard to get less than zero by ESPN FBI to make the playoffs. Not only did they make the playoffs, they made it as a 5 seed. He goes to the Houston Rockets. They're one CP3 hamstring away from making the NBA Finals. Go up 3-2 over the Kevin Durant, Steph Curry Warriors. Yeah, that's what kind of player CP3 is. He's that good. He goes to the Clippers. The Clippers had never won anything in the history of their organization. They're now legit contenders every single year he was there. CP3 is that kind of player. He is that he leads the freaking New Orleans Hornets to the Western Conference Finals, or deep into the playoffs. Had like the number 1 or 2 record in the NBA, number 1 or 2 record in the Western Conference. That's what kind of player CP3 is. He's that great. So I'm not taking anything away from CP3. Chris Paul is that great at 6 foot as a pass first point guard. At 6 foot as a pass first point guard, he's able to do all of this. And if you would have combined him with Kobe and the way Kobe just did eat, breathe, sleep, winning and making things happen, shoot, the NBA would have been in some trouble. That's why David Stern didn't allow it to happen. The Bucks' basketball IQ is lacking, and is their biggest problem. Absolutely, their basketball IQ is horrible. It's horrible at times. Like, there'd be times where Giannis wants to shoot a bunch of threes. Brook Lopez forgets he's 7 foot, wants to shoot a bunch of threes instead of just putting their butts in the paint and making things happen that way. Shoot. Nah, man. They need to make it happen. They need to make it happen and get their players to continue to to continue to really dominate in the post. That's where they have the advantage on Phoenix. I will say DeAndre Ayton is eating their lunch, though. DeAndre Ayton has been eating the lunch of everybody in the playoffs, though. But especially this game one. 19 rebounds, 22 points, 19 rebounds. There's nobody's been able to hold DeAndre Ayton. These playoffs have been a coming out party for DeAndre Ayton, and I'm happy for him because he was the number 1 overall pick in the same draft that we saw Luka Doncic and Trae Young. He's the number 1 overall pick in the same draft as Luka Doncic and Trae Young, and he was the one that was kind of getting forgotten about. He was the one that was kind of being forgotten about because Devin Booker was the leader of the Suns, was the best player on the Suns, and then they acquired CP3. And then his points per game kind of went down during the regular season this year. But in these playoffs, he has shown improving. He is a player, and Phoenix is going to have some decisions on their hands. Because now I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because there's still a lot of NBA Finals left, but Chris Paul looks like he's going to decline this $40 million next season to try to re-up and get some more money, get another $100 million deal. DeAndre Ayton will be eligible for a contract extension this offseason, same as Luka and Trae Young, and he's been pretty dominant these playoffs, so he's gonna want some cheddar. They're gonna have some decisions to make, but hey, that's neither here nor there. That's time for those are good problems to have. Those are definitely good problems to have. So be sure to hit the thumbs up button, guys. Like, share, subscribe. So I also wanted to talk about the fallout that is taking place at ESPN. Now, for those of you who don't know, Rachel Nichols, last year in the bubble, audio was released from last year in the bubble when Rachel Nichols expressed her frustration with ESPN, the fact that Maria Taylor became the host of the pregame show ahead of the NBA playoffs and the NBA finals, while Rachel Nichols became the sideline reporter, what Doris Burke used to do. Rachel says that Maria Taylor was a diversity token, and Rachel's white privilege was showing really, really heavy during this audio. She was laughing. She was caught laughing at the Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movements. She was talking to a guy who was associated with LeBron James. I don't know his name, but LeBron James is a big player. So, he's someone who's associated, a business partner or something, to LeBron James. Rachel was caught laughing at the Me Too movement, caught laughing at the Black Lives Matter movement, said that Maria Taylor only got the job basically because she was a diversity hire and a diversity token. And then she went on ESPN Airwaves and gave the sorriest apology in the history of apologies, right? She apologized for about 5 seconds, right? She apologized for about 5 seconds, and then Kendrick Perkins and Richard Jefferson came in and saved the day. Oh, no, I've known Rachel my entire life, and I think Rachel was the most upstanding citizen in the history of the world. And, Rachel would never do anything. She's never done anything bad to me, and you guys should back off and leave her alone. And then Steven Jackson is going on his platform saying, well, I know Rachel is such a great person, and, that's ESPN fault. We should be mad at ESPN. We don't be mad at Rachel. We should be mad at ESPN. And I'm just looking at this like, bro, what? Like, first of all, the apology time the hell out, because I already talked about this once, but there's new layers to this, and then we'll get to. So, first of all, Rachel Nichols was wrong. All right, I don't care what Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins, Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, all these guys who have worked with Rachel Nichols, I'm sure she is a wonderful person, like when you meet her. But her white privilege was showing. To say the fact that Maria Taylor only got the job for a diversity hire because she was a diversity token, because obviously the NBA bubble and all that stuff was taking place in July of last year, which we were coming off the heels of the George Floyd protests and were taking place all across the country, all around the world, right? That is insensitive and that is disrespectful to Maria Taylor. Let's call it what it is. It is disrespectful to Maria Taylor and undermines her craft, her work, the fact that you're going to call her a diversity token. You're going to call Maria Taylor a diversity token. And that's to not say it wasn't true. That's to not say it wasn't true at all. But the fact that you should have expressed you vented by using Maria's name and having her name in your mouth, you undermined her work. Who's to say Maria Taylor, who actually played basketball, who is actually really good at her job doing both college football and NBA, She's really good. Now, whether she was a diversity token or not, that might have a layer of truth, but to undermine Maria's work is wrong on your part. It's wrong on your part, especially when some folks feel like you got your job because your mother-in-law is Diane Sawyer, a top dog in ABC. Jalen Rose's daughter pointed that out. Shout out to Jalen Rose's daughter because she actually pointed that out. Rachel Nichols' mother-in-law is Diane Sawyer, who is one of the top dog at ABC. Who is ABC under Disney? Same people that's over ESPN. So that's ugly. Rachel, that it looks real fishy. It looks real fishy. And then it gets better. So Kendrick Perkins, I think he was either on Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces. I think he was on Twitter Spaces. So it was like the Twitter version of Clubhouse. He was on there, and people and some black folks confronted him, like a young black lady confronted him like, yo, G, like, what was that thing about you and RJ coming and try to be Captain Save-A-Ho and save the day for Rachel Nichols during her apology to Maria Taylor? Like, what was up with that? And Kendrick Perkins basically said, I did it because I didn't want to lose my job. He said the only person worth losing my job over is Taylor Perkins or Mrs. Perkins, which is his wife. He said, Rachel ain't worth losing my job. So if they tell me to go out there and I want to keep my job at ESPN and they tell me to go out there and speak for Rachel or speak on behalf of Rachel, that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm summoning. He only used so many words, but he did use, I didn't want to lose my job. And the only person I'm worth losing my job for is my wife. He used that multiple times. Go look up the conversation, Kendrick Perkins on Rachel Nichols and the apology. That's why he said he went out there, him and RJ, because basically they were forced to. That's what it sounded like to me. It sounded like they were forced to go out there and be beside Rachel and take up for her while she gave this apology. Now, this story gets even deeper. There's more layers to peel back because, as we know, ESPN has made a number of cuts of very talented people over the years, right? And there's so many former ESPN employees that like were high-profile ESPN employees like Jamil Hill and Dan Le Batard and Chris Broussard and Rob Parker and Skip Bayless and Colin Cowherd, and the list goes on and on. So anyway, a group of them, Amin Elsan, Jamil Hill, and Dan Le Batard did a podcast yesterday, or radio show, about their time at ESPN and some of the things that take place at the company. Now, between these three former ESPN employees, they probably have like 30 years of experience with the network. I think Dan Le Batard and Jamil definitely were both there over a decade. And Amin, I think, was pretty close to it. He was there for a number of years too. So they know what's going on at the Worldwide Leader, right? And during this podcast, during this episode, it was so interesting to hear Amin talk because Amin said something that nobody had ever heard before, right? He goes on because, Rachel's comments, shook up a few of the analysts, shook up some of the people that were there when they heard the audio. And one of the people was Adrian Wojnarowski. Now, Woj, everybody knows about Woj. He drops all the NBA news, during the draft. He always has the picks before they come in. Anytime somebody gets hurt, he always has the breaking news. Anytime somebody gets traded, it's either Woj or Shams Charania over at The Athletic. They're the two, go-to NBA insiders that have all the connections and know when everything goes down before it goes down. So, during Amin's, rant on Dan's show, he said that Woj it's interesting hearing criticism of Rachel by Woj. Now, Woj went on to call Rachel a bad teammate for what she said about Maria. And Amin thought that was interesting because he said Woj has put his foot and stopped the career of ascending black journalists over at ESPN. That was like, whoa, what, Woj? Amin said there has been times where prominent young up-and-coming journalists and reporters have had stories or have done something and put themselves in position to succeed at ESPN. And Woj is someone who has stopped or halted their careers. That was big. That was huge. Not only did he say that, Amin also went on to say there are black and brown journalists and different people who will type up stories for the ESPN website, and Woj will add his byline to the story, even though he had nothing to do with the story, just so he could get the clout, essentially. That was also big. Now, was any of these things that Amin was saying surprising? No, not really. We've seen it before. We've seen these kind of things before, not just at ESPN and other places where, white people try to stop your success or white people try to tag along with your success. That's not interesting. Now, it will be interesting to see if Woj responds, right? If Woj is going to come out and call Amin a liar, if Woj is, or if anybody from ESPN, especially the top dogs like Stephen A. and are they going to come out and respond to any of this? Are they going to address this at all? Because that's the thing about ESPN. They've been tap dancing around this issue since it came out about 3-4 days ago. And now we have even more, allegations levied on some of their top employees. Rachel Nichols was a top dog at ESPN. Woj is a top dog at ESPN. Like, these allegations levied towards some of their most prominent TV personalities and most prominent social media people and most prominent employees at the company. It's kind of neat. It's kind of worth addressing, wouldn't you think? All they did was come out and say, okay, Maria's going to host the NBA Finals this year, and Rachel's not going to be a sideline reporter. Instead, we're going to promote Malika Andrews. And all that did was allow, because Malika Andrews is black, and all that did was allow other people to come out the woodworks and say, another diversity token hire. See, Rachel was right. Rachel was right. They're only doing this for diversity. It's like super interesting to watch all of this go down, all of this take place, all of this shake out. So I'm gonna see how ESPN comes out all of this. Shout out to the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is ESPN Teflon. I don't know about that. They got some chinks in the armor. They have some chinks in the armor, and they have a lot of people that no longer work for the company that can now speak on the company. Guys like Michael Smith, Jamel Hill, Amin Hassan, Dan Le Batard, like I said, Chris Broussard, Rob Parker, those guys over at Fox, they haven't touched this at all, and they probably won't. Michael Smith. So it's a ton of guys. They used to do good work over at ESPN that no longer are there. And so it's going to be interesting to continue to follow up on this and see what else comes out of all of this mess, all of this nonsense. Will this affect, Dr. Vibe says, will this affect ESPN's bottom line? I don't know. I think maybe, because now you have other media outlets like myself, like Clay Travis, like these other people that are coming out and either bashing you or just like really wanting answers. They want some answers to some of these questions, right? Like Clay Travis, he put out, a lot of people hate Clay Travis, but I mean, he does a lot of stupid stuff, but he makes some sense sometimes. And he's like, is everybody at ESPN racist? Like, what is going on? And it's like, it is interesting. It makes it seem like, man, what in the world is really going down at the worldwide leader of sports? It's interesting. A Disney-led company that is in crisis control right now with the Rachel Nichols, the Maria Taylors, and now this Woj allegation. And one last thing before I get out of here. Another thing why, so remember, this Rachel Nichols audio, ESPN has been having for a year now, right? Like, allegedly it took place during the bubble in Orlando. So what happened was, for those to give you the backstory, Rachel Nichols was doing her show or whatever for ESPN. She couldn't get her mic off or couldn't turn it off or something. She didn't know how to turn it off or something. So she was either in her hotel room or somewhere having a conversation with this advisor to LeBron James, a business partner of LeBron James or something. And that's when she made the statement about Maria Taylor being a diversity token. That's when the guy that works with LeBron made the comments about being sick and tired of the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter movement. And she was laughing. So like, that's when all of this took place, right? So ESPN has held this tape because that audio was sitting back. Remember, she couldn't turn her mic off. That audio was sitting back to the control room in Bristol, right? The control room in Bristol. And the ESPN HR, the guys didn't do anything about it. So there was a black camera woman allegedly that recorded the sound of this audio of Rachel talking about Maria Taylor and presented it to Maria Taylor and others that work for ESPN. And you know what I'm saying? And so now it is being thought that Maria Taylor, whose contract ends after these finals. Remember, Maria Taylor, her contract at ESPN ends after the finals. It is an alleged thought, allegedly, and we don't know, that Maria Taylor leaked this audio to the public, to us, because ESPN's had this for a year. So it's alleged that Maria Taylor actually leaked the audio to the public, to us, so that she could have a leg up in negotiations. So she could get a bigger bag in her next contract with ESPN. So she could, leverage herself to make more money in this upcoming contract dispute, in this upcoming contract negotiation. That, my friends, it's not a bad move. It's called strategy. If that is true, now granted, we do not know if that is true. If Maria Taylor is actually that, saying, clever and crafty. She's a smart woman, but if she's that crafty or that willing to, to hell with Rachel Nichols, hell, she had this things to say about me anyway. I'm just letting y'all know who she really is. If she's willing to do that, she's a bad woman. Maria Taylor is a bad woman if that is true. Now, we don't know if that is true. I want to make sure I preface by saying we do not know if that is true, that Maria Taylor actually leaked this audio. We don't know. But there are reports. Once again, we don't know if these are true. These are just reports, so they're rumors. There are reports that Maria Taylor wants a Stephen A. Smith bag from ESPN. And what better way to get a Stephen A. Smith type bag from ESPN, which we talked about yesterday, is between $10 to $12 million, somewhere in that range, maybe even closer to 15, but I think it's between 10 and 12. If she wants between $10 and $12 million, like Stephen A. Smith, why not leak the audio? Why not try to convince them? Why not use that as leverage? Why not? Why not? If you have it, you didn't say those things about yourself. Rachel said them. That's for ESPN to deal with Rachel. They want Rachel to come back and blame Rachel for having to give me the big bag. I ain't mad at her. I ain't mad at her at all. I am not mad at her at all. Get your bag, sis. Get your bag. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when Maria Taylor's contract. We'll know because they are public figures. Their contract numbers are made public. We'll know what kind of bag Maria Taylor gets once this contract is up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, I'm Jeff Lightsy Jr. at the Black Boss channel at Victory Formation. Be sure to follow us, like, share, subscribe. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out, guys. We're here every morning, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. We go live all throughout the day. Thank you guys for hitting us up. You should hit the share button, like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.